Alrighty, quick recap of the ball game the other night. Going back through the tape, I thought our guys played a really good football game. I know we had some self-inflicted wounds in the first half that took 2 touchdowns off the board, and naturally, had the fumble inside the 10. But I thought our guys, did a great job keeping their poise and composure. Our defense continued to play well. We came out in the second half. Of our 5 possessions, 2 touchdowns, a field goal. We had the 1 punt, and then we finished the game with the ball in our possession at the end of the game. So really efficient second half. I thought that defensively, again, our ability to stop the run, to pretty much make them one-dimensional. And again, we gave up the 1 pop pass to the tight end there in short yardage, but I thought our defense had a heck of a game. I thought offensively the balance was there without, obviously not having Jonathan. I thought Cedric Baxter really showed up. It was a nice job by Jaden Blue and his ability to step into the fold. So all in all, I thought we played a really good game. Controlled the game, even just on our mindset, even into that fourth quarter. So again, I like the poise that our guys showed in that game when things clearly weren't going our way, and we were kind of stubbing our own toes there in the first half, but nobody panicked, and I thought that's a sign of maturity for our team. So that was a real positive there, and then ultimately for us to get our 10th win, which is it's obviously as players and as coaches, you're always looking to those benchmarks throughout a season. Bowl eligibility is always something that people point to. 10-win seasons is always something people point to. Conference championships, something people point to. Bowl game, and then naturally, if there's a CFP opportunity. So it's a great benchmark for us to hit. I know the guys, the coaches were excited about it, but I think, all of us would tell you the same thing. We're not done yet, and we know that there's more out there for us to do. The goals that we had set for ourselves, at the start of the season, are still there for us. So we're looking forward to kind of continuing the mission, continuing the journey. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all our fans that came to Ames Saturday night. Obviously, tough environment to play. Their support did not go unnoticed. There was nothing like singing the Eyes of Texas on the road in a hostile environment. Great moment for our players. So I appreciate all of the support on that front. But that transitions to this Friday. And, Friday night game. It's only our second night game of the year. We know it was a great spectacle, the first night game that we have, and we're looking forward to another awesome opportunity this Friday night. It'll be senior night for our seniors to celebrate them and all that they've done for our program. And I think that, I've been pretty adamant and pretty clear about what those guys have meant to our program. And so a chance to honor them will be great. A chance for us to kind of solidify an opportunity to play in the Big 12 championship game is obviously exciting on that front. And then hopefully for our fans to celebrate this team, to where this team has come. And I know what everybody's gone through over the last decade or so. And so for the fact that this team has one more opportunity to play in DKR, Friday night, we're looking for a raucous, intense crowd, one that fuels our players with energy, but hopefully, again, like I always say, the players have to do their part. We have to do our part to fuel the fans with energy too. So hopefully everybody can make it. Everybody have a little turkey on Thursday. Enjoy your Friday afternoon, and then get to DKR for, I think, for us an awesome ball game against a really good opponent. I think Tech, it really had a tough start to the season. I know we all go through it, and you never know when injuries show up. But they were fighting that injury bug earlier in the year. And I think, as you could see them getting themselves healthier and healthier, they've strung together 3 in a row now. They're playing really good defense. They're running the football extremely well, kind of have changed philosophically that way. So we know we're going to get their best shot. And so we've got to do a great job of preparation this week for a heck of a ball club. And should be an exciting night Friday night.
Raise your hand if you have a question. Get a mic to you. Start on the far left, Chip.
Steve, can you give us an injury update on the guys who went out of the game on Saturday, DJ Campbell and Worthy, I guess, and with the transfer portal window opening on the 4th, you have a bunch of guys with decisions to make, some seniors with COVID years and all that. Do you have to kind of get an idea from them ahead of schedule or no?
So injury-wise, I feel actually pretty good on a Monday. Coming out, it was a physical game Saturday night, and we had a variety of guys that kind of went down. I don't foresee any of those guys being out Friday. So, obviously we need to monitor that as the week goes. But I do feel, confident enough today that we'll have everybody that was available Saturday night will be available Friday night. And again, probably a better served question for a little later in the week when we really get to practice. From a transfer portal perspective, we really haven't addressed it. We're in the midst of a season. We're in the midst of a championship run. We've got a heck of a ball game to play Friday night, and especially on a short week. There's just not a lot of time to have those meetings with the players that way. Probably have a little better opportunity into next week after this game when we have a little bit more time. But I think, quite frankly, unless I'm missing something, I would say if not all, the majority of the players in our locker room right now are just trying to compete with one another to put us in the best chance to be successful to try to win a championship. I'm sure I'm not, my head's not in the sand. I'm sure there's people that are potentially thinking about it, have been in contact with other schools. It's just the nature of the business. When you're on a good team, other schools try to call your players and see if they want to transfer. Hey, I get it, and whether it's directly or indirectly. But I do think that the main focus of our team right now is about trying to finish this season the right way. But I'll be, I'll be very understanding of it when we have to have some of those discussions with some of the players, and try to support them as best we can, whether that's to stay or if they're thinking about leaving and what that looks like. But again, that's the age that we live in right now. I don't know, if it's a good thing, bad thing. It's hard to tell yet. I'm just hopeful that all of our guys enjoy this experience that's going on right now, because they put forth too much work, right? From January, we're into November now. There's too much time, effort, blood, sweat, tears, great moments to not enjoy this. And I'd hate for them to miss what's going on right now, because they might not get this back. Just going to another school doesn't ensure that you get what we have going on right now in our locker room, what we're doing as a team on the field. So I'm hopeful that all of our players, even if in their minds they're thinking, hey, it's time for me to move on, that they don't miss this right now, because this is something that'll last a lifetime, what they're going through, and the bond that they have with their brothers, the success we're having as a team, the great moments. So I'm hopeful, like I said, that they're not missing what's going on right now with their eyes, down the road. And that's hard. That's hard as young people. I'm sure every guy on our team wants to play and play a ton. I understand that. But man, this is a pretty cool time right now to be a Texas Longhorn football player. So I'm hoping that they're enjoying it.
In the middle, Eric?
Steve, one of the many things that Jonathan Brooks did well was, kind of excel in the second half of games and help you close out games. Now that you've had a chance to see C.J. Baxter a little bit in, a couple of days removed from the game, just wondering how you felt about his ability to, kind of grow and close out games in the second half and really kind of be that guy you can lean on late in ball games.
Yeah, I thought C.J. got stronger as the game went on. He had some really nice runs in the second half of that game, some physical runs. I think it's pretty safe to say, Iowa State's a really physical defense. They're an excellent defense, and there's hard yards in there, and they're physical in the secondary when they tackle. And I thought CJ did that and got stronger as the game went on. So that's really encouraging for us, knowing kind of what's in store for us as we move forward. But I'd also say I think some of that is a credit to the coaches of making the right adjustments and calling the right stuff that I think puts our players in a really good position too, and the players understand why we're calling what we're calling there. But again, I'm very impressed by CJ. I was really impressed by Jaden Blue. I know he didn't have some of the wow plays that maybe We were all kind of hoping. But the fact that he's in there on 4th and 1 at the end of the game to get that first down, I think speaks volumes to the development and the growth that he has as a player and how far he's come, where he was just kind of the highlight reel perimeter guy. It's all of a sudden he's running between the tackles on 4th and 1 to get a first down to seal the victory. So that was definitely encouraging as well.
Along the lines of celebrating the seniors, just what were some of the challenges as you look back on it to get everyone to buy in, and then how gratifying is it now with that particular group to see where they are now?
Well, I mean, I think inevitably, when you take over a program, you have to remember that the guys that were here in the program and the guys that were in that first recruiting class that I inherited that signed in December, they didn't sign up to play for Steve Sarkisian. They didn't sign up to get coached by Kyle Flood or Bo Davis or whomever, right? They had signed up for something different. And so naturally, when you come in, you're trying to gain and build trust, okay? And we have an old adage that we use in our building: trust equals time plus consistency. And so one of the challenges was, even through some of the tough days, the tough games, the tough losses, was remaining consistent as a coaching staff, remaining consistent with our message, remaining consistent of what we were asking of the players to do, not only on the field but off the field. And then over time, hopefully they could start to learn to trust us one player at a time. And as we went through it, I think that's inevitably probably the overall riding theme, is that I think we've developed trust with our players, that our players know, hey, I'm going to always tell them the truth. Sometimes they may want to hear it, sometimes they may not, but they know where I'm coming from, that it's ultimately in their best interest, because my job as a coach and our coaching staff is to try to put our players in the best position to be successful, whether that's on the football field, in the classroom, or in life. And if they can understand that that's the overriding theme, and then we back that up with our actions, over time we'll start to get their trust. And I think that's been kind of the journey over 3 years for the seniors that were here when we got here. And the guys that are still here, that have persevered through the 3 years of it all, I owe them a ton, because without them trusting us, the other players in the program would have a harder time trusting us. And so that's probably the biggest thing when you talk about the buy-in.
Coach, here you are, you're so close to clinching a spot in the Big 12 title game, yet the commissioner's been open about rooting against you. It's such an odd dynamic. How do you approach that? As I know his plan was to come here, and have you guys been able to smooth anything over since he made those comments?
There was nothing to smooth over. For me, we've been on this kick here for months now. This whole situation, us leaving the Big 12, our players didn't choose to leave the Big 12, right? They came to play for the University of Texas. What conference we're in, that's not what our players, they're just choosing to put on the burnt orange and white and run out of the tunnel. And so whether the commissioner's rooting against our players to win or not, or we're in the SEC or we're in the Big 12, at the end of the day, our guys just want to play good football and they want to win. And so we've tried to consume ourselves with what we need to do. As you guys have heard me say, we need to be enamored with us, and that's something that we've done. And that's been our focus. And I think that's why our players have been so poised and so composed, even on the road, as we go on the road, and the success we've had there, says we haven't gotten caught up in what's going on outside. We've really tried to quiet the noise. We've really tried to stay focused on one another and how we can continue to support one another. And so, for the commissioner, we've had plenty of conversations, and he is coming. I got a chance to see him. He was in Ames Saturday night. He'll be here Friday. And I'm hopefully we put on a heck of a show for him. That's what I want. He's the commissioner of our conference, and I'm hopeful that when he watches us play, he's proud of the way that we play and representing the Big 12, because that's the conference we're in right now.
On your left.
Steve, this is obviously your best season as a head coach record-wise. I was curious, in other categories, is this the best team you've ever had, either in run defense, grit, balance, or whatever?
Yeah, I think balance is probably the thing. When I look at our team, and I look at BD Auburn and what he's doing kicking field goals. I mean, he made 14 in a row. I look at Ryan Sanborn in the year he's had punting the ball. I look at Xavier, and what he's been doing punt return wise. Even having the punt return call back, he's still leading our conference at punt return. Then I look at the way we're playing defensive football right now, and the fanatical effort, the relentless nature, the violence that we're playing, but yet how intelligent we're playing the game defensively, and our ability to stop the run, I think we've grown into that over 3 years. And then offensively, I just love the balance that we have and the way that we're playing. I know maybe we haven't gotten all the points that we want, but the fact that we're averaging over 450 yards a game, and we've created explosive plays, and the ball's moving around. We're not one-dimensional. We can run it. We can throw it. We've fought through injuries. We played with a backup quarterback for 2 games. We lost our starting running back. Our true freshman steps in and goes for over 100 yards against one of the top defenses in our conference. Like, to me, the versatility of our team, the balance of our team, that's probably as good as I've had in my time. I may have had a year where we've had a really good player at one spot or another, or really good numbers by a couple players here or there. But at the end, I think the balance and versatility of this team has really shined through this year in all 3 phases.
Far right, Joe.
With how convoluted the conference championship picture is, do you like being able to tell your team a simple message and that it's winning in?
Well, I just think we learned our lesson a year ago. We put ourselves in position a year ago to where, we had to win Friday night against Baylor, and we were able to do that. But then our fate was in somebody else's hands on Saturday, and it didn't work out so well for us. We didn't get into the championship game. And so I think this year was, leave no doubt, like, this is on us. We control our own destiny. Let's go handle our business the way we know how to do it. It's a tall task. It's going to be a tough game Friday night. But at the end, let's not leave it up to somebody else. Let's do it our way and the way that I know we're capable of doing it.
On your left, Danny.
Steve, when you got here, what did you, PK, Jeff, see in Jalen, and has he exceeded those expectations?
Well, we didn't know a whole lot. He had played a little bit, but as we kind of grew as a program and as he kind of grew, the playmaking ability continues to show up. Like, for some reason, it's this old thing in football, and you guys have all been covering it for enough to know, really good players are around the ball. They make tackles, they force fumbles, they recover fumbles, they get interceptions, they get sacks. And at the end of the year, it's maybe not always the numbers, but those plays always seem to happen at critical moments, right? They show up when you need those plays to happen. And that was something we had to learn about Jalen as we went through year 1. Naturally, in year 2, it really started to show itself, and he continues to do it now. And I think now more than ever, his leadership has shown up. I mean, you could see him last Saturday night. I mean, he was in charge on the field of getting things lined up and making great checks, but yet it's 3rd and 1, and you see him stuff a running back in the hole and knock him back. And so it's all of that, right? It's all of that that's building up to BD Auburn makes a kick at the end of the first half, and A.D. Mitchell, Jade Barron, Jalen Ford are out there celebrating with our kicker after a field goal at the end of the first half. So you talk about leadership too. Like, Jalen has a lot of things to him. He's not, you can't say he's just this. I think he is all of that. And all of those things take time to learn our way through, but what an invaluable player he's been for our program, especially over the last 2 years. Like, we would not be where we are today without Jalen Ford. And, just what he represents, the way he goes about his business, the cerebral aspect of the game, the versatility of his game, the playmaking at critical moments, all of those things add up to, we're obviously very fortunate to have had him.
Stay here on the left, Cedric.
Hey, Steve. A case can be made. This is the biggest game of your head coaching career coming up. You're looking for your first conference championship. I'm keeping it real, Mr. Sarkisian.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Also,
I'm
Texas,
real with you guys. I mean, you can be
yeah.
real with me. You know,
We're spare parts. I mean, also, biggest game for the program since the '09 Big 12 championship game. I know it's one game, but do you guys talk about the stakes? I mean, because this is the Big 12, and next year you're going to have some huge fish to deal with
You know,
in SEC.
we haven't necessarily had to put more of an emphasis on this game because I mean this when I tell you, after the OU game, I've made it a point that every game we played, the first thing I talked about to the team every morning, every Monday morning, every Friday night, this is a Big 12 championship game. We feel like we've been playing Big 12 championship games one week after another. We know the value of them. We know the importance of them. You never know how it's going to shake out. And we just did not want to put ourselves in position where we were relying on other people. And so I don't feel like in this week that I have to do more than that. I think that our players understand, hey, we went into this season with a mission to try to be champions. We felt like we were more than capable to do that, but that we would have to handle our business along the way. I think we've performed that way, but the work's not done. And so it's not something that we shy away from or need to shy away from, but it's also not something that I need to make it even bigger this week because we've been talking this way now for almost 2 months. That of every game and the importance of the games, each weekend. And so I think our players are going to prepare really well like they have been. I think they're going to go into the ball game with a clear mind and composed and poised and try to play their best football. And then we'll see if it's good enough.
On your right, on one.
Hey, Coach, you've talked a lot about culture being one of the reasons for success this season. Can you define it for me? I mean, like, what's on your list of things? What's on the items? What's on check? Is it sitting in the front of the classroom? Is it showing up early? Like, what is it?
How long do I have? That's a tough. I need like a semester. I should teach a class. No. I think this. I think first of all, and that's a fair question and a good question. I think the first thing about culture is organic. It is not a sign up in your building. It's not a T-shirt you wear. It's not breaking the team down and saying, hey, culture on 3. I think culture is organic, right? It manifests itself with the relationships that you build. I think that there's things that we talk to in our culture that are of the utmost importance. Commitment is really important to our culture. Discipline is really important to our culture, right? Accountability is very important to our culture. Mental and physical toughness are very important to our culture. Love is very important to our culture. Vulnerability is very important to our culture. Transparency is really important to our culture. So that's just to name a few. But I can't just say those things. We have to live those things, and then we have to have teachable moments along the way, A, to celebrate the guys that are doing those things, B, point out when maybe we're not, and then how can we fix it, and then how do we correlate that? Because who you are some of the time is who you are all of the time. And so if you want to be a disciplined football team when you take the field each weekend, you have to be disciplined when you're off the field. How do how are we in school? How are we in community service? All of it all adds up to that becomes your culture because that is who you are. That's how we go about everyday life. For example, when we have a team meeting and that meeting breaks, I have the same few guys that early on would make sure the team room was clean. There was no Gatorade bottles, there was no tape, there was no trash. And a couple of those guys' names were Roshan Johnson and Bijan Robinson. Well, that elevated to, when those guys were gone, the running back room was the ones that cleaned up the team room. to now when we break a team meeting, everybody looks around. And so it has grown from 2 guys that has grown into more to when we go to the movies on Friday nights before a ball game, if we have a night game, everybody chirps up, pick up your trash. So I know those sound like little things, but in the end, those are really big things to me because that means that's the way we're thinking all of the time. And if we're doing those little things, and that's why I say to celebrate the small victories, I really celebrate that stuff because I think those actions and that behavior leads to the big victories, leads to 1st and goal on the 5 and your defense has got to get 4 stops, leads to 3rd and 12 backed up on the road and you convert a 1st down. I think it leads to those guys counting on one another, relying on one another because they're doing the right things on a daily basis. And we're not perfect, and I don't expect our guys to be perfect, but if they can be coachable on and off the field and they can learn from one another, then we will continue to grow and our culture will continue to grow. But it takes being vulnerable. It takes being transparent with one another. It takes getting to know one another so that you can have some empathy for what a guy's going through, not just on the field, but off the field, where he came from, what's going on in his life. And we have to share those things. And so in the summer, we do a lot of culture work every Wednesday morning. Now, Friday night, I do a culture exercise before. That's the last thing we do before we go get on the bus, whether it's to go to the hotel or to go get on the plane. Like, we invest a lot in that. And I think that, obviously, to me, it's paying dividends because I think culture beats talent if your culture is really strong. Culture and talent together is a pretty powerful force, and that's something that we've tried to create here.
In the middle, Jeff.
On Thursday, you called Jordan Whittington a guy who you can count on. I'm curious about your initial impressions 3 years ago when you first met Jay Witt. What do you remember about that first meeting with him, and how have you seen him grow into the young man that you know today?
I think Jordan has really, really matured. And he's probably a better guy to ask some of this to. But it's like anybody. When you're in college and you're younger in college, it's where are you placing the value of your time and your importance to what you're doing. And he was fighting through injuries. Well, why is he getting injured? What's going on? And how do you all the things that are happening. But for the last 2 years now, year and a half, this guy's the first guy in our building. And now another idea, talk about culture, now he's got 6 or 7 other guys that are showing up as early as him or earlier than him. But he used to be the earliest guy by far to have maintenance on his body, to get his body right. He was always a selfless player because he knew the value of opportunity and reps because he had to change positions. He had injury issues. And he'll fill you in on this if you ask him. But when he broke his collarbone against OU our first year here, he contemplated not playing football anymore, and I wouldn't let him not play football anymore. And because I just know you only get this one time. You don't get to say, hey, when I'm 40 or 50 like me, hey, I'm going to go back and play football. I think that was a pretty good deal. I should have done that more. Now's the time, and so you need to maximize that. And so just to see him grow through adversity, how to handle adversity, how now he helps other players on our team through some of their own adversity and what they have going on, the selflessness in which he plays the game, very rare, very rare. But he's instilling in others, this is how to play the game, and this is how to be successful at this game, and this is how to be on a championship team. And I just think that he's grown, and he's grown into a voice of, I don't know. I talk a lot about whose locker room it is and different things. I don't know if there's another guy in our locker room who's more respected than Jordan Whittington. I think every guy in that locker room respects him to a point to where, man, if Jay Witt's doing it, that's probably what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I think he's earned that. And I think that, again, that's not because I make him a captain every week or things of that nature. It's who he is on a daily basis that has earned that respect of his teammates.
Far back left, Jeff.
Sark, between the end of your time at SC and the time you got hired here, in that time when you're making that checklist of, hey, if I ever get a chance to be a head coach again, I want to do this. How much of that stuff do you feel like you actually were able to implement when you got the job here, and it's kind of been a part of the blueprint that you've used to build this?
I think a great deal of it. Obviously, I learned a lot personally in that time. And I just said to myself, having been at SC, having spent time at Alabama, having been in the NFL, and been around some really cool players, some great coaches, and two really good cultures. Obviously what Coach Saban has at Alabama is a very unique culture in its own right. I thought what Dan Quinn had in Atlanta was an awesome culture. Like that group of guys I got to coach every day was tremendous. And what I learned in it all was, man, if I get another chance, first and foremost, my players are going to really get to know me. And the only way to do that is I have to be vulnerable with them. I have to be transparent with them. They have to really get to know me as the person as much as the coach. And so when we do a lot of the stuff that I was talking about earlier, I always go first. I always make sure that they get a sense of who I am and what's important to me. And then the second part to that was, what is the best version of Steve Sarkisian? How do I bring that every single day that I show up so that I hopefully can empower others to be the best that they can be today? And so I try to create a culture that is upbeat, that it's positive, but yet is very demanding of what it looks like. There's a style of play that I was very clear-minded on how we wanted to play the game, and I think we kind of see what that looks like now. And ultimately, I think our success off the field is as important as our success on the field, because I think those two things coincide. So I think we've been able to do and move towards, what we're trying to look like on a daily basis. I don't think we're done yet. Like I don't think we're a finished product at all. I think that we're just getting going, and that part's exciting to me, because as you build something, there's milestones along the way, and 10 wins is a great one. And believe me, I'm as excited as anybody about that. But there's more work to be done, and you take those moments to enjoy the small victory, but then we got to keep going. We got to keep grinding, and I think that our team has that mentality, and that's something that hopefully we've instilled in them over our time here.
Sark, you talked about Tech kind of evolving, and their hammer is Taj Brooks. What does he possess as a problem for your defense?
Well, he's got great contact balance. Taj Brooks, the first guy has a hard time getting him down, and it's not always because of the elusiveness. It's his ability to absorb blows and stay on his feet, and then continue to break tackles, get hard yards. They're a physical running football team. I think naturally you think of Tech, and if you're not watching them, they're running the ball. They're all spread out, and they're running, zone read, and nobody's tackling the guy, and he's running. They're running up, and they're running gap schemes, and they're running downhill. It's a physical brand of football that they're playing, and they still do it with tempo. And so you have to get yourself aligned. But I do think there's been definitely a shift, philosophical shift that Joey has implemented to that team. That is the physical brand of football offensively, that is playing to their defense. They've got a very good defense. And so those two things working together has shifted. They're not playing 48, 45 games and each team's running 100 plays. They beat Kansas 16-13 a couple weeks ago. They beat UCF 24-23, but they're winning games with that philosophy and that style. And so you have to adjust accordingly. But it all goes back to their ability to run the ball with Taj, and he's a heck of a player.
Last one on your left, Leah.
Coach, when you first accepted this job, did you have any idea that Texas was going to be heading to the SEC? And then when you did learn that information, did you change your approach at all?
No, I did not know, and my approach really didn't change. I've philosophically for me, I think you win football games up front, and we had to continue to recruit really big humans. and we had to be a physical football team at the line of scrimmage on offense and defense. You had to have the ability to run the football and have the ability to stop the run. If you can do that, you always give yourself a chance, every Saturday that you take the field. And so my mindset when I got here was to compete for championships. Well, if you're going to compete for championships, you better be able to beat those top teams in the SEC, because they're probably the ones that are in the college football playoff that you're going to have to beat. And so that was kind of how we were starting to build the roster. Then when I found out we were moving to the SEC, well, our formula for what we needed to do to try to beat those teams really just kind of got highlighted even more. But that's already the plan that we were on.